welcome back. It is November 2021 and I'm here to share my Karen Burniston Designer Challenge card. This month Karen challenged the team to make a card with a window. I decided to make a photo collage card with a window on the front. It has all the elements of Thanksgiving. We have, of course, the little glass of wine, cheers, a pumpkin. Thanksgiving wouldn't be complete without a pumpkin, a pie, a loaf of bread, and of course, our fun little turkey. I'm going to show you all the steps for making this card with a window. So let's get started. When I first began planning this project, I pulled out one of my older cards using the photo collage to use as a reference. I wanted to see which panel would end up with the face down against the front of the card, so that's where I could position the window. As it turned out, it was this one on this card, the very top one. So as you can see, when you close it, it turns face down, and that's where you want to make the window. But in this case, it's up a little bit higher than I wanted it. So I turned the whole thing upside down so that my window would be closer to the bottom of my card. I made an ugly prototype just like I always do with scrap paper. It's not pretty, but it gets the job done. I am not going to show you how to make the mechanism because Karen has an excellent video which I've linked below, and she does a much better job of explaining it than I can. I've taken this card apart several times to make sure I got all the positioning correct. I wanted to make bigger rectangles on the first sections of the card, so I got out the triple flip die set and used the rectangles from that. And then I placed them on the panels just as I would be at any other photo collage. So I'm going to place them like this and like this. I've already added repositionable adhesive to the mechanism so I can just stick these panels down. I've had them on here and off of here several times. So I marked this one so I could get the position correct, and then when I get ready to make my final card, my real card, I'll have an idea how to line them up. Now on this one I was practicing where to place the pie so that it didn't create a catch point. So it is going to go just about here. That way when the card closes, it's not going to get caught up. It's not going to create a catch point for on the pie or on the loaf of bread. So I'm going to straighten that out a little bit. Doesn't matter. It's really a practice. So when you get to this point, you want to close it and test it. See if it closes correctly. This paper is a little flimsy, but it does get the job done, and I can see that I have everything positioned correctly. So I'm going to open it back up, and I'm going to take this panel off just for now for experimental purposes, and I'm going to add it right down here where I normally would if I was making any other. Whoops, I need a little bit of adhesive. 1 minute. Okay, I added adhesive onto this arm down here, and I'm going to line this panel up just like this. This is what the panel that's going to be my window. I wanted my window on the or closer to the bottom of the card, so I'm going to use this one. And as you can see, it turns face down, just like that, and that's where I'm going to place my window. I'm going to open it back up, remove all of these panels except for this one, so I have my placement. Now, if you decide that you're making this card and you want to have your window closer to the top, all you need to do is turn the whole thing around, and it'll be at the top instead of the bottom. I marked the bottom of my card because I knew that I wanted this to be the bottom with this arm moving this panel face down against the cover of the card. Okay, so what I've done is take the same rectangle that I used to cut this out. I have placed repositionable adhesive on the die right here and right here, and then I've taken a piece of washi tape and put it face down. So what I'm going to do is put it upside down so that the adhesive that's up here and down here is going to stick on this panel temporarily. Now I'm going to turn the whole thing, I'm going to close it so I can see where that panel is positioned. Then I'm going to put the tape down and I'm going to remove, whoops, I know this is hard for you to see, but there's what I did. Now, as you can see, it is a little bit crooked. So what you need to do is just straighten it out. You can eyeball it or you can measure it. On my final card, I actually did measure it to make sure that I had it totally level. This one is just to show you how to do it. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to remove this panel. Now I'm going to put this in my die cutting machine and I'm going to cut this out. I'm going to remove this temporary adhesive so that it doesn't stick to my cutting plate. Now, while you have your card at this stage, this is when you need to make any necessary adjustments. I didn't adjust it on my original card, but I discovered later that this is the time to do it. So what you want to do, I'm going to fold this back just so you're able to see what's going on with this card. What happens is the arm comes up to catch the panel, and at this point is where you want to make sure that the arm is going to be right on the panel once you cut the section out. And I can see right here that I need to move it up just slightly, about 1/8 of an inch or less, just a little smidge. So I'm going to do that. Test it again. Now I can see that that arm's going to come down right on that panel, and that's what I want. So now I'm going to take it to the die cutting machine. I'll be back in a second. Okay, I've die cut my rectangle, as you can see. Now I'm going to remove it from the card. When I die cut it, I put it in the die cutting machine and I rolled it right up to here, and then I rolled it back out. Now I'm going to remove this panel. As you can see, we have the rectangle exactly positioned where we want it. Now the way to get it lined up the way you want it is to take the piece that you cut out, place it back in the opening, and then you're going to put, I still have a little adhesive here, but I'm going to add a little bit more. You're going to close the card again. This time you're going to be catching that panel. So you can see it's right there on the arm, and it looks a little crooked on here, but that's okay. It's going to open up right in the window. So when you close it, you have a seamless effect. So you can't even see that on the front. Now when you put the acetate in there, you're not going to have the problem of it sticking through there. But as you can see, it's on the arm, it's positioned correctly. So now I'm going to do this on my real card. So off camera, I completed several steps that I've previously showed you using the practice card. I installed my mechanism, and I made sure that I put it exactly the same way that I did on the practice card, because I want my window down here at the bottom. I added a panel right here that's going to be, I replaced the panel cut with the same die, so it's exactly the same size, and I've decorated it with 2 little forks from one of Karen's previous releases. This is from her Pop It Up days, and it is from Props 8. But if you have the farm animals with the little pig, it has a fork in there as well if you wanted to make this card. I added the acetate, and I decorated around the edge with one of the border blend dies. I also decorated the front so that when the window closes, the forks are showing and it's decorated all the way around there. Now, when you decorate this panel, keep in mind that in this position, it's going to be horizontal, but when you open the card, it's going to be vertical. So don't put anything there that has a certain direction that has to be one way or the other, or you're going to be disappointed. But now I'm going to go ahead and decorate with my other panels, and I'm going to speed the film up because nobody wants to sit here watching glue dry. When I got to this point, I had some trouble getting my panel that has my pumpkin on it in the right position. So I took my practice piece, and where I had marked it, I cut it out and I laid it over this piece so that I had it positioned just right. But each time I put on a panel, I did a little test. So I see that it closes just great and opens with no catching. So then I proceeded, but I did the same thing on the other panel with the little pie and the loaf of bread, so I could make sure that I had everything placed correctly. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you've enjoyed seeing how I rose to Karen's challenge for a window card. I've listed all the products that I used in the links below, so you can check those out. Until next time, bye-bye.